Okay, good morning. This is the second attempt at this. We're going to do a quick video on how to do the dot plot and the XY scatter plot in Desmos Graphing Calculator. We've already seen the video on how to do it in Google Sheets. Desmos allows us to do these two as well. It's actually fairly easy. Start by going to desmos.com. We want the graphing calculator. And here we are. So one of the really nice things about Desmos is that if you have a list of data in Google Sheets, and here we have our number of text messages sent by phone users on a dormitory floor, we can highlight this data and copy it. And if we go to Desmos, we can paste it directly in here. Now, what you would want to do that will make your life easier is to first give your data set a title. We're going to call it our data set A, and we're going to paste our values right in there. And it shows up here, A equals 50 element list. So it knows there's 50 data values in there, which is good because we know there's 50 data values in our data set. Second thing we're going to do is we are going to click on this keyboard down here at the bottom, go over to functions, and under the distribution tab, we'll see a dot plot there. And we're going to hit enter. Now, first, we're going to go down to the next tab, and then we're going to put in the dot plot. So there we go. Now, it wants you to input a data set. You could type your data set in here, or since we already copied it, we could copy and paste it in here. But we already put it up here, and we titled it as data set A. So if we just type a capital A there, it will recognize and associate the data set with what we put in as our data set A up above. And it has already plotted our dot plot. We can't see it because our x-axis is from -10 to 10 and our data set is from 78 to 159. But there's a zoom fit button here at the bottom left that we could click, and it will give us our data set. And there's our dot plot. It's not perfect. We can adjust our x-axis by clicking on the graph settings. We certainly don't need the negative numbers. We could probably start at 70 and can probably go to about 170, or even less than that, really. We'll go with 170. And it will show us our dot plot. It's a pretty good looking dot plot. You could actually click on the data values here. One of the advantages to a dot plot over something like a histogram is that you maintain the data values. You don't lose what the actual values were. On a histogram, you know how many values fit into each group, but you don't know exactly what those data values were. So you do maintain those data values, and you can pick them off this graph. Downsides, there's no title up here. There's no title of the x-axis. You could add notes. We could add a note here and say that this is the number of text messages in a college dorm. Okay, we can take that, drag it up, put it over the top so we know that's what the whole thing is titled. That's one of the downfalls here is we don't have those titles, but it's certainly a very easy and intuitive way to create the dot plot. The next one that we want to try and do, I'm going to click always on Desmos. See how this is green, and this tells you that and the dots show up in green. If you click on that, your graph disappears. If you click on it again, it'll come back. If you hold the button down, let's say we don't like the green for whatever reason, we can change the colors of our dots. We can change the sizes. We can change them from dots to open circles to X's, to whichever one we wanted. Turning off the points is not a good thing to do because then we lose them. So we can do a lot of things to make our graph look differently in here. So I'm going to turn that off because we don't want to see that anymore, and I'm going to go back to the home screen. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to look at an XY scatter plot, and the nice thing for, and I can't see it down here at the moment. There we go. XY scatter plot, again, is that we can copy and paste directly from our Google Sheet into Desmos, and Desmos will automatically recognize that as those two lists as an XY list and will plot the points for us. So it has already created our XY scatter plot and done a very nice job of it. If we want to add the trend line, I know that was one of the things I showed you how to do in the other video on how to add this trend line in Google Sheets and how to add the linear equation or the linear regression line. We can do that in Desmos as well. It's a little bit different. There isn't an actual button to do a linear regression, at least not that I've found so far. However, if we go to a new equation box here, we're going to type in the following, y1. And we use y1 because that's what our xy list identifies y as. And we'll use the approximate symbol, the squiggly line. It's to the left of the 1, equals m for slope, x1 for our x value, plus b. We're telling it this is the equation, slope-intercept form of a linear equation. We're telling it we want it to utilize this data to come up with an approximation of a linear trend line, and it has done that for us and plugged it in for us, which is very nice. You can look in here, you can see what that m is, that slope is. This is salary based on how many years you're working. So you can see the slope is 2,578.85. So that's your slope. That's your rate of change. You go up $2,578 per year of employment. B is your starting value. Looks like you're starting at $20,425.2. This R here, that's a correlation coefficient that lets you know how well the data and the trend line actually match up. The closer to 1 that value is, the more accurate your trend line is in reflecting your data. I'd say 0.94, 94% is pretty good. So there's a little, some tips in Desmos. I think it's really easy to use. It's nice that you could copy and paste the lists from Google Sheets, so it's always to your advantage to put your data list into the Google Sheet, regardless of what graph you're being asked to create. I have not found a stem and leaf function in Desmos yet. That's not to say it doesn't exist. So thank you for listening, and good luck.